Everyone, this is Tom. I'm going to do a quick update on the VermiBag Mammoths. They've been going for about a month and a half now. This is the Mammoth 1, which is definitely the furthest along. This is pushing 3/4 of the way full now. I've really been feeding it and putting a lot of bedding material and stuff in it. Now I did start with a fair amount of pre-composted stuff on the bottom, so probably the bottom 6 inches is, was pretty much finished castings that I pulled out of one of the other bags. But other than that, they've really been working through the material really well. Now I have a fan on there right now. This is actually working pretty good. This is just a cheap electric fan. It's like 12 bucks. This one I actually got out of garbage somebody was throwing away because the stand broke. But on low, I just have it sitting on a couple of 2x4s, and it blows into the ventilation panel on this side and basically exits on this side. And by having it up in the air there a little bit, all of the force doesn't go inside the bag, so it isn't too bad. It's been keeping the bag fairly cool. And once a day I just kind of mist down the inside of the bag, and the worms seem to be doing real good with it. So I'm going to continue trying to use it right now and see how it works. I'm going to go ahead now and set up the camera, and let's take a look inside the bag and see how these guys are doing. So I placed about a 1-inch layer of this really finely shredded newspaper that I run through a micro shredder. And like I said, with that fan on there now, once a day I go ahead and I mist the top of this. So the top of this is just really moist. And with that fan blowing on there, it seems like the only thing that dries out is just about the top 1/8 of an inch. If I go just down slightly from this, it's really moist right underneath here. So again, I think it's actually working pretty good. I'm probably going to continue doing it for right now. Just take a look, see how the worm population is doing in here. So, one corner there, another corner there, other side there. Worms really seem to be liking the bag now. Even in the middle of the bag, there's quite a few worms in here. I put a feeding, and I pretty much concentrated the feeding around the center. So they're pretty uniformly distributed around the bag, I think. I think they definitely concentrate a little bit more on the sides of the bag, because it's a little bit cooler right on the edges. I mean, they love the corners, because the corners basically have 2 sides that are open. I don't know I'm not sure how many worms I have in here now, but I'm estimating it's somewhere around 7 pounds, 8 pounds, maybe a little bit more than that even, because again they're pretty heavy and they're pretty uniform all the way throughout the bag. I'll pull it over on the other side and take a look, see what the other side of the bag looks like. Again, just right under the surface, even in the center, I mean, there's an awful lot of worms there. I put some little slices of zucchini in here, I froze them and threw them in, and look like a donut now. They kind of worked a hole through the center of it. Again, on the outer edges, there's a lot of worms. Now I am noticing this side that the fan is blowing on directly. It is a little bit drier over here. I mean, it's still moist, but this is where I've had the fan blowing directly on. The other side it exits. So with that, I mean, it's not terribly dry, but it's noticeably drier than the other side. So I'm going to go ahead and kind of wet this side down a little bit more to try and compensate for the fan blowing on there. The nice thing is too, when you put the fan on there after you wet it down, that really cools the bag down, because all that water is evaporating, and there's a noticeable difference. The worms will really come up to the surface because it's much cooler. The straps are holding very well, and this only has a single strap. There's definitely a lot of pressure on the center straps, but I don't think any more so than on the Max. The bag is, like I said, about 3/4 of the way full now, so there has to be a good 300 pounds in here, I bet. I am in a little bit of a dilemma because I'd like to move this Mammoth to a regular stand now. I'm not sure how to do it because all I did was set this up temporarily between two Max stands with just a board on each side. So I'm going to try and figure out how to do that. I can't lift it, but maybe I can jerry-rig something, try and get it up, suspended on a cart or something, where I can put the other stand over the top of it and get it attached up. So overall, I'm pretty happy. The bag is definitely working out really well. The worms are really thriving in here now. I am going to, like I said, wet this other side down. I'm going to keep the fan going because it definitely cools things down, but I'm just going to add a little bit more moisture on the side that the fan's blowing on. I'm going to continue to feed this thing and see if I can get it up about another 4 inches. I'll probably be doing a small harvest on this in the next week, just to see how everything works and stuff. Again, the compost I put in there originally, was pretty much done anyway, so I know the material's ready, and I did open it up and look at it the other day, and I could easily pull a little bit of material out of it. But my main concern right now, I'm trying to get a lot of weight on the system where I can, test out these straps and see how they're doing. So far, everything seems pretty good. Again, the new design on the Mammoth, the ones I'll be selling, actually have 2 center straps, so if this one will support it with one, we're not going to have any issues at all with the 2. I'm actually hoping to have some pre-sales. I might actually set them up next week. I've made up a couple extra bags now. I'm starting to work on them. I'm making some tiny little changes to the Mammoths that I'm making. The first 10 will probably, each one of them will probably be just a tiny little bit different, but till I get it down to exactly the way I want. But overall, again, I'm real happy. I think the system is working just great, even with this heat. It's been so hot here. But I think just the sheer volume of this thing, it tends to basically handle the hotter weather or the colder weather, I think, better, just out of mass. There's a big surface area so things can cool down, and there's also a lot of area that the worms can get out of an area if they don't like it. That's it from me for right now, folks. Till next time, it's Tom. Ciao.